My name is Karina. So this poem is very, very personal to me, and I also want to address some stuff after the poem, so I'm going to make this intro quick. So I am Colombian American. However, on my father's side, I'm also Chinese, although I never grew up in the culture. And this is what that poem is about. Silent Ancestry, or a poem for mixed and/or ethnically ambiguous women. I don't have the freedom to be loved without being laughed at. Little jokes made by lovers about how we may appear, who we may appease, and who we might appeal to. Silent ancestry screams in a mother tongue that I know not of, as women of my history bang on the doors of my starved mouth, begging for breadcrumbs. Cruel tricks of the moon, of kind eyes gone too soon, replaced with the insatiable hunger that can only be cooed with the breast of the woman who scorned them. This derisive dominance dance of a fetish that I can't even properly represent. And when my mother tells me that they are only curious, I remind her that this isn't new. I have always been a playground for curious men looking for a foreign land to discover, conquer, and claim. Do not look for me in your dark fantasies with your fingers wrapped around my throat, trying and prying to choke out the words I belong to you. They like to remind me that non-Western beauty is only useful when on display. And even when I take off my clown pate, I can't run away from the circus that follows me. But I feel the weight of hungry eyes on me like sinking teeth, mouths watering to taste the new exotic plate, as if they haven't had enough of the world to eat. I thought that other people of color would never fetishize because of this mutual understanding of being dehumanized one way or another. I assumed that we wouldn't do that to each other, but every time I hear you, it turns into lies after I realize what about me causes you to fantasize. I can't be your friends, but you're exactly my type. Says the man who's never spoken to me in his entire life, only heard stories, inquiries, imagining what I'm like, who I am, what I do, how I'm someone you can always turn to who'll stand up and sincerely fight for you. I begin to shout at the barren walls of white feminism, a sisterhood that left me behind, done making me its token after it finished hypersexualizing me, the ex machina machine que puede hablar español. I invite you all to look at me without your minds racing to where could she possibly be from? And to acknowledge the violence that has led from a questioning gaze to many other women with a similar face. We are not something to discard. Our wounds are just as large, and I pray that when I come of wiser age, that the world won't be as dense, so that my daughter will escape her mother's fate. Poem. I know I don't have a lot of time left, but I want to bring about this important issue. My Instagram is Karina, K-R-I-N-A, Jasmine, J-S-M-I-N _O_. You can come up to me. I just really want to bring this up really quick. This morning, Leilani's a good friend of mine, and with her permission, she gave me permission to speak on this. This morning, Leilani was featured in a very big poetry platform, and she was tagged, but it wasn't her. It was a completely different Asian American poet. And I want to bring that to attention because this isn't the first time that Leilani and I have been confused for each other. At first, I took it as a compliment because I think that she's one of the most talented and beautiful people I know. But then it kept happening. And the reason that I share this poem, that I bring this up, is because no one should have to continuously explain their identity when that's what they do in their work. That means that people are not listening to us. A lot of my poetry is about being Colombian and about my family coming from a third world country and escaping war. Leilani's poetry is very focused on her Asian American identity. As I mentioned earlier, I don't know my Asian American identity as much as I wish I did. So I don't mean to say this to accuse anyone or to even name drop. I'm not even gonna name drop the organization that made that mistake with Leilani, but this is not the first time this has happened. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough to where it's very dehumanizing. And I wouldn't wish that upon anyone, regardless of ethnicity. That shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have to explain yourself and the work that you do when your work is so consistently about your identity. So as someone who calls herself an advocate, and that's what I do, I'm an organizer as well, I'm pre-law major, my entire life is wanting to learn and protect women of color.